Accidentally, my ranch maid walked in on me. She froze when she saw what I was doing. He had always been a man of routine. His life on the ranch was simple, and he liked it that way. The early mornings, the smell of fresh hay, the sound of horses moving in their stalls, and the quiet that came with the open land. This was what he knew. The ranch was his world, and he had built it with his own hands. For years, he had lived alone. After his parents passed away, the ranch became his responsibility. He never thought about leaving. The work was hard, but it kept him grounded. It gave him a reason to wake up every day. He would wake up before the sun, check the fences, feed the animals, and then walk through the fields. He knew every inch of the land, every sound of the animals, and every small change in the weather. Because he lived alone, he had created his own rules. He did not like people in his house. He liked his privacy. The ranch was a place of work, not a place for visitors. If someone came by, it was always for work. He liked it that way. He had hired a maid to help with the house. She was a quiet woman who had been working for him for a few months. She was respectful and never asked too many questions. She knew the rules. She never went into places she was not allowed to go. She always worked quickly and quietly. He appreciated that. It made the ranch feel calm. On this day, the weather was warm. The sun was bright and the wind was gentle. He had spent the morning fixing a fence that had been damaged in a storm. His hands were tired and his back was sore. He had been working hard for hours. When he finally came inside, he felt the weight of the day fall off his shoulders. He looked around the house. It was quiet. He could hear only the sound of the old clock on the wall. He walked to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water, and sat down at the table. He looked out the window at the land he loved. The field stretched out as far as the eye could see. The animals were resting in the shade. Everything seemed peaceful. He took a deep breath and felt something he did not feel often. He felt alone. Not in a bad way, just in a way that made him feel like he could be honest with himself. He had been hiding something for a long time. He had been living with a secret that he did not want to talk about. He did not want anyone to know. It was not something he was proud of. It was something he had learned to live with. The accident had happened years ago. It had changed his life. It had left him with pain that never fully went away. Sometimes the pain would come back suddenly, like a sharp sting. Other times it would be a dull ache that followed him all day. He had learned to live with it, but he still felt the weight of it every day. He had been to doctors. He had tried many treatments. Some worked for a while, but nothing completely cured him. He had tried to be strong. He had tried to ignore it. But sometimes, when he was alone, he needed a moment to let the pain out. He needed to feel something other than the pain. He had developed a private habit to help him cope. It was something he did only when he was alone, when he knew no one could see him. He did not want anyone to judge him. He did not want anyone to think he was strange. He had built a life where he did not need anyone. He did not want anyone to see this side of him. So he kept it hidden. He had always believed that no one would ever know. The house was quiet, and the ranch was big. There was no reason for anyone to enter the house without him knowing. He had always been careful. He always locked the doors when he was inside. He always made sure he was alone before he did anything private. On this day, he forgot to lock the door. He did not realize it until it was too late. He had been sitting at the table, thinking about the day, when he heard the sound of footsteps on the stairs. He froze for a moment. He listened. The footsteps were slow and steady, like someone moving carefully. He did not want to move. He did not want to be seen. The maid had come into the house. She had not knocked. She had not called out. She had simply entered, believing that he was not home. She had been working in the yard and she needed to bring some clean laundry inside. She did not think it would be a problem. She opened the door to the room where he was sitting. She expected to see the empty house, like she always did, but she did not expect to see him sitting there, looking at her with wide eyes. He was not doing anything wrong, but he was doing something that he did not want anyone to see. When she saw him, she stopped in her tracks. Her eyes widened, her face changed. She froze, like a deer caught in headlights. She did not move. She did not speak. She simply stood there, staring. He felt his heart beat faster. He felt his face grow hot. He wanted to disappear. He wanted the ground to open up and swallow him. He had never been so embarrassed in his life. The silence in the room was heavy. It was the kind of silence that makes you feel like you are in a room full of people, even when you are alone. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words would not come out. He felt trapped. He felt ashamed. The maid did not know what to do. She had never seen anything like this before. She had never been in a situation where she felt so shocked and unsure. She wanted to leave, but she did not know how. She wanted to close the door, but she did not want to make a mistake. She had come to work. She had come to do her job. She had never expected to see this. She had never expected to be part of a moment like this. The ranch, which had always felt safe, suddenly felt strange and unfamiliar. The house felt different. The air felt thick. It was as if the walls were holding their breath. He finally spoke. His voice was quiet and shaky. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean for you to see that." The maid did not answer. She simply looked at him, her eyes full of confusion. She did not know what to say. She did not know what to think. She had never been in a situation like this before. She had never been around someone who seemed so embarrassed and ashamed. He stood up slowly. He moved toward her, but he did not touch her. He did not want to make her feel uncomfortable. He wanted to fix the situation, but he did not know how. "I'm sorry," he repeated. "Please, just go back to your work. I will be fine." The maid did not move. She still stood there, frozen. He realized then that this was not something that could be fixed quickly. He realized that the trust between them had been broken, even if only for a moment. He realized that his private life had been exposed, even if only for a few seconds. He felt a deep sadness. He had always believed that he could handle things on his own. He had always believed that he did not need anyone. But in that moment, he realized that his secret had made him lonely. It had made him distant. It had made him feel like he was living in a world where no one could understand him. The maid finally moved. She turned and walked away slowly, holding the laundry close to her body. She did not look back. She did not speak. She simply left the room, as if she wanted to escape the moment. He watched her go, feeling a mix of shame and regret. He knew that he had made a mistake. He knew that he had broken the rules of his own life. He knew that he had allowed someone to see a part of him that he had kept hidden for years. He sat back down at the table, his hands shaking. He looked out the window at the fields, but he did not feel calm anymore. He felt exposed. He felt vulnerable. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if the maid would come back. He did not know if she would continue to work for him. He did not know if he could ever feel comfortable again in his own home. All he knew was that something had changed. Something had shifted. The ranch was still the same, but his life was not. And he realized that the hardest part was not the accident, not the pain, not the loneliness. The hardest part was the moment when someone else saw him, truly saw him, in a way he had never allowed before. The rest of the day passed slowly, like time itself was tired. The ranch was still working. The animals still needed food and care. The sun still moved across the sky. But for him, everything felt different. The house felt quieter, like it was waiting for something to happen. He tried to focus on his work. He went outside and checked the fences again. He walked through the fields and looked at the animals. He fed them, one by one, and tried to act normal. But every time he heard a sound, he turned his head quickly, as if he expected the maid to appear from nowhere. He thought about what had happened. He thought about the way she had looked at him. He thought about her eyes, wide with surprise and confusion. He thought about her face, frozen in shock. He thought about how she had not said a single word. He thought about how she had simply turned and left. He felt a strong sense of guilt. He felt like he had done something wrong, even though he had not meant to. He had only been trying to cope with his pain, like he always did. He had not wanted to hurt anyone. He had not wanted to upset anyone. He had not wanted to cause any trouble. But he had done something that made her feel uncomfortable. He had made her feel unsafe in his own house. And that was something he could not ignore. He wanted to fix it. He wanted to talk to her and explain. He wanted to tell her that he was sorry. He wanted to tell her that she had nothing to be afraid of. He wanted to tell her that he was still the same man she had been working for. But he also knew that talking about it would be difficult. It would be uncomfortable. It would make him feel exposed again. He did not want to relive the moment. He did not want to feel that shame again. He did not want to hear her thoughts or her judgment. He decided to wait. He decided to give her space. He decided to let her come to him when she was ready. He hoped she would understand. He hoped she would forgive him. But as the day went on, he realized that waiting might not be enough. He realized that she might never come back. He realized that she might decide to leave the ranch. He realized that his mistake might cost him something important. He thought about how much he needed her help. The house was large and he could not manage it alone. The ranch was also demanding, and he needed someone who could help keep things in order. He had hired her because she was good at her job. She was reliable, she was honest. He had trusted her. Now he wondered if he had lost that trust. He went back inside the house feeling tired and heavy. He sat at the table again, staring at the same window. The same view was outside, but it no longer felt comforting. It felt like a reminder of his mistake. It felt like a reminder of his loneliness. He heard the sound of the door opening. He looked up quickly. He saw the maid entering the room. She was carrying a small basket of clean clothes. Her face was calm, but her eyes were still serious. She did not look at him directly. She looked at the floor. He stood up slowly. He did not know what to say. He did not know how to act. He felt nervous. He felt like a child being scolded. The maid walked past him and placed the basket on the table. She did not say a word. She turned and walked toward the door as if she was leaving again. He quickly moved in front of her. He did not want her to leave. He did not want to lose her help. He did not want to lose her trust. "Wait," he said, his voice soft. "Please, stay. I need to talk to you." She looked at him, but she still did not speak. He took a deep breath. He knew he needed to be honest. He knew he needed to explain. He knew he needed to show her that he was not a bad person. He knew he needed to show her that he respected her. "I know you saw something," he said. "I know it was shocking. I know it was shocking. I am sorry. I didn't mean for you to see it. The maid nodded slowly, but she still did not look at him. I know you might think I am strange, he continued. You might think I am doing something wrong, but I am not. It is something I do when I am alone. It helps me cope with the pain. I have been living with pain for a long time. He could see her body tense. He could see her trying to understand. He could see her trying to decide if she should trust him. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, he said. I don't want you to think I am a bad person. I am still the same man you have been working for. I am still the same man who respects you. The maid finally looked at him. Her eyes were full of emotion. She did not look angry, but she did look unsure. She looked like someone who had been forced to think about something she did not want to think about. I didn't expect to see that, she said quietly. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. He nodded. He understood. He could not blame her. He had been shocked too. He had been embarrassed too. He had been ashamed too. I am sorry, he said again. I should have been more careful. I should have locked the door. I should have made sure no one would come in. I should have been more respectful of your space. The maid looked at him for a moment. She seemed to be thinking. She seemed to be deciding what to do. Finally, she spoke. I don't want to leave, she said. I like working here. The ranch is peaceful. The animals are calm. The work is good. But I also don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel like I am walking into a place where I could see something I shouldn't. He listened carefully. He could feel the truth in her words. She was not angry. She was not upset. She was simply honest. I understand, he said. I will make sure it never happens again. I will lock the door. I will respect your space. I will make sure you feel safe. The maid nodded again. She looked relieved. She looked like she felt a little lighter. He could feel the tension in the room start to ease. He could feel the air becoming less heavy. He could feel the silence becoming less painful. They stood there for a moment, both of them unsure of what to do next. It was a strange moment. It was a moment that changed the way they saw each other. It was a moment that made their relationship different. But it was also a moment that made them honest. He realized that honesty was something he had been missing in his life. He had been hiding his pain for so long that he had forgotten what it meant to be open with someone. He had forgotten what it meant to be seen. The maid looked at him one more time. She gave him a small nod, as if she was telling him she understood. Then she walked out of the room and continued her work. He watched her go, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. He was relieved that she had decided to stay. He was sad that he had caused her discomfort. He sat back down at the table and took a deep breath. He looked out the window again, but this time he did not feel as alone. He felt like he had taken a step towards something important. He had made a mistake, but he had also made a choice to be honest. He had taken a step toward healing. He had taken a step toward rebuilding trust. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he could breathe. The days after that moment were quiet, but they were also different. The ranch still looked the same. The fields were still wide and green. The animals still moved slowly under the sun. But the air inside the house felt changed. It felt like a small crack had appeared in the wall. A crack that was not dangerous but could be felt by everyone. He tried to act normal. He did not want the maid to feel uncomfortable. He did not want her to think that he was always thinking about what happened. He wanted her to feel safe again. He wanted the house to feel like home again. He would greet her in the mornings like he always did. He would ask how she was doing. He would make small talk about the weather and the animals. He tried to keep the conversation simple and light. He wanted to show her that nothing had changed between them. But he also noticed that she was different. She was not the same quiet and calm woman he had known. She was still respectful, but she was more careful. She moved slower. She avoided certain rooms. She seemed to be watching him, as if she was trying to make sure he was not doing anything that would make her uncomfortable again. He understood. He did not blame her. He knew that what she had seen was not easy to forget. He knew that she might still feel shocked. He knew that she might still feel unsure. He did not want to make her feel bad. He wanted to make her feel safe. He wanted to show her that he respected her and her boundaries. So he made a decision. He decided to change his routine. He decided to create a new system for the house. He decided that he would always lock the doors when he was inside. He decided that he would never do anything private in a room that she might enter. He decided that he would always knock before entering a room where she might be. He also decided to talk to her more. He wanted to build trust again. He wanted to show her that he was not hiding anything from her. He wanted to show her that he respected her enough to be open. One afternoon, he saw her sitting on the porch steps. She was holding a cup of tea. She looked tired. He walked up slowly, not wanting to scare her. "Are you okay?" he asked. She looked up at him and smiled softly. "Yes," she said. "I am okay, just tired." He nodded. He sat down beside her. He did not want to rush. He did not want to force a conversation. He just wanted to be there, showing her that he cared. They sat in silence for a few minutes. The wind moved through the trees. The animals made soft sounds in the distance. The ranch felt peaceful again. Finally, the maid spoke. "I want to ask you something," she said. He looked at her. He waited. "Why did you do it?" she asked quietly. He felt a wave of emotion. He had been waiting for this question. He had been trying to avoid it, but he knew it would come. He knew that she would want to understand. He took a deep breath. He looked out at the fields for a moment, then back at her. "I did it because I was in pain," he said. "I was trying to cope. I have been living with pain for a long time. Sometimes it becomes too much. Sometimes I feel like I am losing control. That moment was a way for me to feel something else, something that took my mind away from the pain." The maid listened carefully. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She simply listened. "I know it may sound strange," he continued. "I know it may sound like I am weak, but I am not weak. I am just human. I am just trying to survive." She nodded slowly. Her eyes showed that she was thinking. She seemed to understand more now. She seemed to see him as a person who was struggling, not as someone who was strange or wrong. "I didn't know you were in pain," she said softly. He looked down. "Most people don't know," he said. "I have always tried to hide it. I did not want anyone to feel sorry for me. I did not want anyone to see me as broken." The maid took a sip of her tea. She looked at him with a gentle expression. "You don't have to hide it," she said. "You don't have to be alone. You don't have to pretend you are fine." He felt his eyes burn with emotion. He had not expected her to say that. He had not expected her to understand. He had not expected her to be so kind. "I know," he said quietly, "but it is hard. It is hard to let someone in. It is hard to trust someone with something so personal." She nodded. "I understand. she said. "But I am here. I will not judge you. I will not leave because of this. But I need you to be honest with me." He looked at her, surprised. "Honest?" "Yes," she said. "If something happens again, I need you to tell me. I need you to say, 'I need privacy.' Or I need you to say, 'Please do not enter this room. I need you to respect me, and I need you to respect yourself." He nodded. He felt a sense of relief. He felt like he had been given a second chance. He felt like he could rebuild trust. "Okay," he said. "I will do that." They sat in silence again. This time, the silence did not feel heavy. It felt peaceful. It felt like a quiet agreement between two people who were trying to understand each other. After a while, the maid stood up. She finished her tea and set the cup down carefully. "I should get back to work," she said. He nodded. "Thank you," he said. She smiled again, a little brighter this time. "You're welcome." As she walked back inside, he watched her go. He felt something shift inside him. He felt like he was no longer alone in his struggle. He felt like someone else knew what he was going through. That night, he sat alone in his room. He thought about the conversation. He thought about the way she had spoken to him. He thought about the kindness in her voice. He thought about the way she had looked at him, not with judgment, but with understanding. He realized that he had been wrong to hide his pain. He realized that hiding it had only made him feel more alone. He realized that if he wanted to heal, he needed to open up. He also realized something else. He realized that the maid was not just a worker. She was a person with her own life, her own feelings, and her own struggles. She was not there to judge him. She was there to help him, and he needed to respect that. The next morning, he woke up earlier than usual. He felt a new sense of purpose. He went outside and started working on the fence again. But this time, he felt different. He felt like he had a reason to work beyond just keeping the ranch running. He felt like he was working for someone else too. He was working for the woman who had chosen to stay. He was working for the trust that they were rebuilding. He was working for a future where he would not have to hide. And for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful. As the days went by, the ranch began to feel more normal again. The sun still rose in the same place. The animals still needed care. The fences still needed repairs. The work was still hard. But something in the house felt different. The air felt lighter. The tension was slowly fading. He had kept his promise. He locked the doors. He made sure the maid knew when he needed privacy. He kept his private moments in a place where she would not enter. He made sure he respected her space. The maid noticed the changes. She noticed that he was trying. She noticed that he was being more careful. She noticed that he was being more open. She began to trust him again. Their relationship became quieter, but stronger. They spoke more often. They shared small moments. They talked about the weather, the animals, and the work. They also talked about small personal things, like how she liked the sound of rain, or how he liked the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. They did not talk about the accident often. They did not talk about his pain often. But the silence between them no longer felt heavy. It felt comfortable. It felt like two people who understood each other without needing to speak every thought. One evening, he was in the barn. He was cleaning the stalls. The air was warm and the smell of hay filled the space. He heard the maid's footsteps behind him. He turned around. She was holding a small box. She looked nervous. Her hands were shaking slightly. She was not sure how he would react. "Can I ask you something?" she said. He wiped his hands on his jeans. "Of course," he said. She took a deep breath. "I want to help," she said. "I want to do more. I want to make sure you are okay. I want to be kind. I know you are strong, but I also know you are hurting." He was surprised. He had not expected her to say that. He had not expected her to see beyond the work and the routine. "I appreciate that," he said quietly. She looked at him carefully. "I have a cousin," she said. "She had an injury like yours. She was in pain for years. She tried to hide it too. But then she found a doctor who helped her. She found someone who listened. She found a way to manage the pain." He listened. He did not interrupt. He could feel his heart beating faster. He felt hope. He felt fear. He felt a mix of emotions. "What if I could help you find someone?" she asked. He looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" She held the box tighter. "I mean a doctor," she said. "A therapist. Someone who can help you. Someone who can listen." He felt a sudden rush of emotion. He had never thought about getting help like that. He had always believed that he could handle it alone. He had always believed that asking for help would make him weak. But hearing her say it made him realize that he had been wrong. He looked at the box she was holding. "What is that?" he asked. She opened the box slowly. Inside was a small notebook and a pen. She had written down the names of a few doctors and therapists in the nearest town. She had also written down their phone numbers and addresses. "I did some research," she said. "I know it is not easy to travel, but maybe you could go once, just once. See what they say? If you don't like it, you don't have to go again. But at least you would know." He stared at the notebook. He felt tears in his eyes. He had never expected anyone to care enough to do something like this for him. He had never expected someone to think about his pain in such a thoughtful way. He felt a deep sense of gratitude. He also felt a deep sense of fear. He was afraid of what it would mean. He was afraid of facing the truth. He was afraid of admitting that he needed help. He took a deep breath. "Thank you," he said. "This means a lot." The maid smiled slightly. She looked relieved. She looked happy. She looked like someone who had been holding something inside for a long time and was finally able to share it. "I just want you to be okay," she said. "I don't want you to suffer alone." He nodded. He felt the weight of her words. He felt the truth in them. He felt the kindness in her heart. That night, he could not sleep. He lay in bed, thinking about the notebook. He thought about the idea of seeing a doctor. He thought about the idea of telling someone about his pain. He thought about the idea of letting someone else into his life. He realized that he had been living in a small world. He had built walls around himself. He had built a life where no one could reach him. He had built a life where he did not need anyone. But he also realized that the walls had made him lonely. They had made him feel isolated. They had made him feel like his pain was something he had to carry alone. He thought about the way she had stayed. He thought about the way she had spoken to him. He thought about the way she had offered help. He felt a new kind of respect for her. He felt a new kind of trust. The next morning, he woke up early. He walked outside and stood in the field. The sun was rising. The sky was painted with colors. He felt the fresh air on his face. He felt the land beneath his feet. He felt alive. He walked back to the house and found the maid in the kitchen. She was making breakfast. The smell of eggs and toast filled the room. He walked up to her and placed the notebook on the table. "I read what you wrote," he said. "I think you are right. I need help." The maid looked surprised. She stopped what she was doing and turned to him. Her eyes widened slightly. She looked relieved and happy at the same time. "Are you sure?" she asked. He nodded. "Yes," he said, "I am sure." She smiled. "Okay," she said. "We will go together. I will drive you. You don't have to do this alone." He felt a warm feeling in his chest. He felt like someone was finally walking beside him, not behind him. They planned the trip. They chose a day when the work would be lighter. They made sure the animals would be cared for. They prepared everything carefully. When the day arrived, he felt nervous. He felt scared. But he also felt hopeful. He felt like he was doing something important. They drove to the nearest town. The road was long, but the ride was peaceful. The maid sat beside him, and they talked quietly. They did not talk about the past. They talked about simple things. They talked about the weather, the animals, and the small joys of life. When they reached the clinic, he felt his heart pounding. He felt his palms sweat. He felt like he wanted to turn back. But the maid squeezed his hand gently. She gave him a small smile. She did not say anything, but her presence was enough. Her support was enough. He walked into the clinic. He checked in. He sat in the waiting room. He looked around at the other people. He saw families, elderly people, young adults. He realized that everyone had their own struggles. Everyone had their own pain. When his name was called, he stood up. He walked into the room. He sat down. He looked at the doctor. The doctor was kind. The doctor listened. The doctor did not judge. The doctor asked questions and took notes. The doctor spoke in a calm voice. He talked about his pain. He talked about the accident. He talked about how he had been living with it for years. He talked about how he had hidden it. He talked about how he had felt ashamed. The doctor listened carefully. The doctor did not interrupt. The doctor did not make him feel small. When he finished speaking, the doctor smiled gently. "Thank you for sharing," the doctor said. "You have been carrying this alone for too long. There are ways to help. There are ways to manage the pain. You don't have to suffer in silence." He felt tears in his eyes. He felt a relief he had never felt before. He felt like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He looked at the maid, who was waiting outside the room. She looked back at him and nodded. She gave him a small smile. He realized then that he had taken the first step toward healing. He realized that he had made a choice to change his life. He realized that he was not alone anymore. The drive back to the ranch felt different. The road seemed the same, but the world felt new. He sat beside the maid, looking out the window. The trees moved past slowly, and the sky looked wide and open. He felt like he was returning to a place he had always known, but with new eyes. He thought about the appointment. He thought about the way the doctor had listened. He thought about the way he had finally spoken out loud about his pain. He thought about the feeling of relief that had come after. It was like a heavy stone had been lifted from his chest. He looked at the maid. She was quiet, but her eyes were kind. She seemed happy. She seemed proud. He felt a deep gratitude for her. He realized that she had not only helped him by bringing the notebook, but she had also helped him by staying with him. She had shown him that he was not alone. When they reached the ranch, the animals greeted them with their usual calm. The sun was setting, painting the sky in warm colors. The ranch felt peaceful. The work was still there, but it felt easier now. They walked into the house together. He noticed that the air inside felt lighter. He felt like the house was welcoming him back. He felt like he could breathe. The maid went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. He went to the barn to check the animals. He felt a new sense of purpose. He felt like he was not just working for the ranch, but also for his own healing. That night, after dinner, they sat on the porch. The air was cool. The stars were bright. The ranch felt quiet, like it had settled into sleep. He looked at the maid and spoke. "I want to thank you," he said. "You helped me more than you know." She smiled softly. "You did the hard part," she said. "You chose to take the step." He nodded. "I did," he said. "But you gave me the push I needed?" She looked at him carefully. "I am glad," she said. "I really am." They sat in silence for a while. The quiet felt good. It felt like a sign that things were getting better. It felt like a sign that trust was returning. After a few minutes, the maid spoke again. "Do you feel different?" she asked. He thought for a moment. He looked at the sky. He thought about his pain. He thought about his life. "Yes," he said. "I feel different." He paused. He chose his words carefully. "I still have pain," he said, "but I don't feel alone with it anymore. I don't feel like I have to hide it. I don't feel like I have to pretend I am okay when I am not." The maid nodded. She seemed pleased. She seemed relieved. "That is good," she said. "That is really good." He looked at her and smiled. He felt a warmth in his chest. He felt like something inside him had changed. He felt like he had found a new strength. Over the next weeks, he continued his appointments. The doctor gave him a plan to manage his pain. The plan included exercises, rest, and some medication. The doctor also suggested talking to someone who could help him with the emotional side of his pain. The doctor said that pain was not only physical, it was also mental. He followed the plan. It was not easy. Some days were hard. Some days he felt tired. Some days the pain still came, but he felt stronger. He felt more in control. He felt like he had a purpose. The maid continued her work. She helped him with the house. She helped him with the ranch. She also helped him in small ways that mattered more than she might have realized. She made him feel seen. She made him feel respected. She made him feel like he was not alone. Their relationship changed again, but in a different way. It was not the same as before the accident. It was not the same as when the misunderstanding happened. It was something new. It was something honest. They still kept their boundaries. They still respected each other's space. They still worked hard, but they also shared more. They talked more. They laughed more. They were more open. One day, the maid asked him to help with a small project. She wanted to plant flowers near the porch. She wanted the ranch to feel more like a home. She wanted something beautiful to grow in the place where she worked. He agreed. They worked together in the dirt, planting flowers and small plants. They talked about simple things. They talked about how the ranch looked in different seasons. They talked about the animals and the work. They talked about the future. As they worked, he realized something important. He realized that he had been living in a world of work and survival. He had been so focused on keeping the ranch running that he had forgotten to live. But now, with the maid's help, he was learning to live again. He was learning to find joy in small things. He was learning to appreciate the beauty around him. He also realized that the maid was not just a worker. She was a person with dreams. She was a person who cared. She was a person who had chosen to stay, even after seeing something that could have driven her away. He felt respect for her. He felt admiration for her. He felt a deep gratitude. One evening, after they had finished planting, they stood back and looked at the flowers. The small plants were still young, but they looked strong. They looked like they were ready to grow. The maid smiled. "They will grow," she said. He nodded. "Yes," he said, "they will." They stood there quietly for a moment, watching the plants. The sun was setting, and the sky was full of colors. The ranch felt calm. He felt a sense of peace. He felt a sense of hope. He knew that life would still be hard. He knew that pain would still come. He knew that the ranch would still demand work, but he also knew that he was not alone. He knew that he had someone who cared. He knew that he had taken the first step toward healing. And he knew that the future, even if it was uncertain, was no longer something he feared. It was something he was ready to face.